What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL. Joined as always by my main man, Jonathan Holder. And today we're joined by even a very special guest. We are joined by Around the Block's own Saivion Mixson. Saivion, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm just happy to be here, man. I've been listening to Pound for Pound for years. So, like
No, no.
once I started writing in 2021, I was like, all right, man, I gotta really hone down into like the pulse of the Atlanta Falcons. And the first podcast I found was Pound for Pound. So I was like, oh,
Well,
this
we're
is it right
sorry.
here.
No, I'm just kidding. No. We very much appreciate it. Um, appreciate you listening to us and being a supporter in that aspect. But you're far more than just that. Than just a supporter by any stretch of the imagination. Nowadays, you do your own, writing, not just for Around the Block, but recently you joined Blogging Dirty, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me see. I got two articles up right now. I'm trying to work on a third one. This last week has been very busy, but that one should be up sometime this week.
I could
Um,
make I could make a jab and say I'm finally glad that they've got some reputable writers on staff now, but I'll refrain from making too many jokes.
I thoroughly appreciate that because you're putting me in a tough spot, and I don't want to be in that spot right now. I just got here. Like
That's
the
right. That's right.
ink isn't even dry.
Well, I ran into you like physically down there at the Senior Bowl, but we've conversed back and forth on Twitter Spaces. I know you hang out with the boys, Hunter Thompson and Trayshawn, and all those guys over at the New Falcon Millennium podcast. Is that right?
New Millennium Falcon.
New
Remember,
Millennium Falcon.
it's a Star Wars
Yeah.
thing.
Right,
Star
it's
Wars
the
thing.
Star
Yeah.
Wars joke. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which I thought was clever. Like between y'all and then out of your Falcon mind, really making me look bad over here with the pound for pound.
I
Like,
feel like pound for pound is such a is like it's so like simple. It's simple yet it's simplistic. Like thinking what was it that Willie Taggart used to call it? Lethal simplicity. That's what
uh,
it is.
lethal
Yeah,
simplicity. That's right. Well,
that's
see,
what it
it
is.
all.
And the hashtag just looks cool. P for P,
Oh
ATL,
my
That's
baby.
right. That's
god.
right. Hashtag PPP, man. Come on with it. Like it came out as literally a joke, like pound for pound, as in like, hey, at the time, you had Dan Quinn, who was the boxing reference, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then also joking, like I'm kind of a hefty fella, you know what I'm saying? Pound for no, okay, all right. but but we, like I said, me and you, we chopped it up pretty good down there at the Senior Bowl, and one thing I noticed right off the rip is like your attention on the defensive backs. Uh, that seemed to be like where you were immediately drawn to, and I took notice of that because me myself, I'll freely admit to anybody, defensive backs is not my strong suit.
Nope.
Like, and like my gauge of if a defensive back is good or not is about as bad as some folks' gauge whether a pass rusher is good or not. Do they have a lot of interceptions? If the answer is yes, then they're a good defensive back, and I want them on my team.
Yep.
When it's
No, and for me, it's the problem of I don't like. I'm a fan. I've loved football for years and years and years and years and years. I've never played organized football. I've never been on the field. I've never been in coaching rooms. I've never like had to deal with this is the reason why we're doing these things. And so when a blown play happens, do I know for sure it was that cornerback that didn't follow his man, or
Hmm.
was it the safety or linebacker or whoever? And so
Right.
I don't. I look. I used to be like, oh man, that DB is a bum. He let his guy go. But was he
trash.
supposed to? I don't know.
Right.
So I have reeled that back in over the years. Just be like, that was a bad play. Somebody messed up. I don't
So,
know who, but somebody messed up. So I try not to blame, but that's like, and the hard part is even with all 22s, a lot of times you don't get a chance to really see like exactly what they're doing in some of the views. So it's just a hard position to follow even when you're looking at tape.
Right. Yeah. No. When it comes to defensive back, especially especially me. I played it back in high school, and I'm not even going to say that I played it more of a cover three type scheme, like cover three and some quarters. But yeah, I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. My coach told me, listen, you bail back and nobody gets behind you, and I was like, okay, so
Yes, sir.
okay, that's what I'll do. And so I didn't really understand, like, oh, I have to realize what the underneath, like what my linebackers are doing and how I can help them. Let's say I wanted to make a play on a, like where I had freedom to make plays outside of, make sure that nobody gets behind you. And so when I got to college, which I didn't play by the way, but once I got to college and started analyzing all of this stuff, I looked and saw like, oh, there's different ways that, quarter, like you can kind of branch off, branch off of your assignment essentially. Like there are different, I won't say keys, but like different opportunities to where cornerbacks can like find the football or can attack the football and still be in their assignment, and just different things like that. And just seeing the way that the guys that we're going to talk about today kind of do that, that's kind of what excites me about like these names essentially, like these names in themselves.
Well, as a perfect segue into that aspect, the reason why that there you go, see, professional. That's what I like about you.
Try my best.
The reason why we reached out to you was for that, is because it is seeming like very possible that at some point in time in this draft we're going to take a corner. Like it almost feels inevitable. It does feel like that the first round is stacking up towards that, but there are corners littered throughout this draft that are interesting corners, and so I wanted you to come on and talk about some of those guys to give people, an idea of if we don't take a Christian Gonzalez at 8 and we take a different corner at 8, that maybe it's not the end of the world. Or if we don't take a corner at 8 at all and we take one at the third or fourth round, that, hey, this guy could still pan out as well. So let's just go ahead and get really started with the first one, who is vying for like your CB1 with Christian Gonzalez. There's three guys that are kind of vying for that. It's, Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr., and then Devon Witherspoon. And so Witherspoon, our buddy, I say our buddy, friend of the show, Daniel Flick, wrote a article for SI, like really outlining the frame and like height, weight of the corners that this coaching staff has used in the past. And Witherspoon really fits that mold. So is there like, what can you tell the folks about Witherspoon that if we do end up picking him at 8, that we should be excited about?
So, like you said, his frame, he's 5'11 and a half, 181 pounds. And you hear that and it's like, oh, he's a thin guy. He's not one of those guys that's gonna come down and really help you much in the running game. And I can assure you that if you think that, you are completely wrong. This dude is a missile coming off the edge. Like you have, like here's the thing with the Illinois defense. You had another guy that we're going to talk about, Sidney Brown, Jartavius Martin, all these different guys in this background or all in this backfield that can come down and hit. And yet still, one of the hardest hitters in this backfield is Devon Witherspoon, and it's ridiculous. He just is. I don't know. He plays with he plays with like a feel to the game that is remarkable. Like it's one of those things where it's like you have to be guessing on some of these plays, but he's right so much that I don't think it's guessing. I think it's just him, being able to read route combinations and being able to be in the right place at the right time, knowing or having the instinct of knowing, okay, I've seen this in film this many times. I'm able to get to, this spot on the field and make a play, either breaking up the football or being able to come down and shoot a gap on a screen or whatever. Like Witherspoon, that's the reason why I'm so high on Witherspoon, is because he plays with instincts, and I think and I'm almost positive that he mixes that with his film study, and it just looks remarkable on film.
Yeah, I mean, and as you can see here, I mean, what we got up on screen is, 25 pass deflections, 5 interceptions, and 115 tackles in his career. Like shows you that like he's around the ball. Like he's not, he's not one that's, shying away, so to speak. Not that many corners like really shy away, but some don't like to tackle. And that 115 tackles shows you that he don't mind tackling.
No, he
And
does not.
that's the biggest thing that I've heard attached to his name is that he will knock your block off, which is great. I'm all for a corner who's willing to stick his nose in there and get dirty. But my question to you is like, there's really been hints that we might be shifting more to like more heavy man coverage schemes. Is he a guy that can fare well in man coverage, or is he more of like a zone guy? Like, so out of those two, which one tends to lean more towards his strengths?
So the thing is with him, I think he's not very. I think he's not very scheme deficient. Like I think he could play in both if he needed to, because
Okay,
he's very aggressive in man coverage, but also, like I said, he has the instincts to play in zone. Um, yes, we're probably going to go towards a more man heavy look, and because of that, you would probably want on. And this is just to put his name out there. You probably want a Gonzalez, a guy that has that prototypical build, and that's going to be, on top of receivers that are bigger like that.
right,
But
right, like your
when
Mike
you
Evans types, and
exactly, yeah,
mhm.
you have those big receivers that are starting to come into the league now, like Quentin Johnson's coming into the league now. Now you have DK Metcalf and guys like that are just huge, shouldn't be able to move like that. AJ Brown,
Right,
um, but but the thing is, Devon Witherspoon. What I like about him is the fact that he is just as physical, no matter who is in front of him. Like I saw him on against Iowa. They had him against tight ends coming off the. It wasn't Laporta, the big tight end that's coming out of there, but they had him against tight ends like most of the time. Like that's where Iowa's passing game usually came from. And
right.
so he has this. He has the experience playing against physical guys. Now, whether they're receivers or tight ends, that's the thing. I think that'll be something that he may struggle with, because somebody that big being able to push you off the line, that's a whole different thing, especially when he's able to like outrun you right afterwards. But him, I'm you can hear me getting excited, and that's just because I really like Witherspoon, and I really think that even as a cornerback one, let alone a cornerback two, I think he's going to be like he would be amazing for us.
Yeah, and briefly
Yeah,
before we move on to Jonathan, you got something you want to add real quick?
yeah. Like you know, when coming into as we started looking more and more into guys, like my first thought was if we get a shot, I really want Christian Gonzalez. If we don't get him, then we wait till the second, third round to pick up a guy, and we may still
Hmm.
do that. But when I did the little bit that I looked into this guy, that seems to be the kind of the different, other than the size, right? He can
Right.
probably put on a little bit more muscle, maybe come in at 190 instead of 180.
195, yeah, something around there.
Yeah, and if he can get there, I think he'll be fine. He probably, I mean, he'll gain some muscle mass regardless, just from being in the pros, anyways.
Hmm.
But once he gets there, I think he'll be fine. I think the biggest differentiator between him and Gonzalez is his physicality, and that's the kind of the, I don't want to say a knock against Gonzalez, but one of the things that's being said about him is, yeah, the guy's great in coverage. He's got all the tools, maybe is not the most physical guy in the run game,
Hmm.
and things of that nature. Whereas this guy, I've literally seen this guy just destroy guys in the backfield, or get through
Exactly.
blocks pretty easily on screenplays and just knock the socks off some guy. And I think if you have those two guys that are just like this, and you
Hmm.
see that guy versus the other guy, I can absolutely see Arthur Smith of all people
Yeah, wanting.
wanting some guy with that kind of attitude.
That's a
Right.
solid point. Yeah, because one thing that they said is, especially Ryan Nielsen. Ryan Nielsen in his first press conference was one of his main words was attack. If you want to attack, this is the corner that you go and get. This is the guy
Right.
that you want. Because he's going to attack downfield.
And also, like, something else for folks to keep in mind is that, yes, we all love AJ Terrell, but as of right now, we haven't paid AJ Terrell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that you draft a corner in the first round signals that you aren't, but the reason why we have Jessie Bates right at the moment is because Cincinnati elected to draft Dax Hill instead of paying Jessie Bates. So could be something that, something to think about. All right, I'm going to keep this train right on a trucking, and on to our next guy, Clark Phillips III, corner out of Utah. And I'm going to admit to you, Saivion, and everybody else listening, outside of name, because me and him share my last name is his first name, so that's interesting. I know nothing about this man. Like, I don't even know what round he's being projected. Like, second round, third round, later. Tell me, sell me on Clark Phillips.
So number one, there's this dude is what's his name? Vic Pickmaster. I think that's his name on Twitter. Huge Utah guy. This is his guy by far. I mean, by far. Every time I talk about cornerback, he has to bring his name into it. So Vic, this one's for you, man.
This one's for you.
This guy here is a ball hawk. The thing is, he is 5'9", 184, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's small. So most teams kind of, in my opinion, most teams will probably have him in the early second round, maybe, right? Because he'll probably end up as like being a slot.
I was going to say like a nickel,
corner.
Corner in that aspect.
But if he does play nickel, my gosh, because he's another guy that in that slot, like in that corner flat area, if he's there, you don't throw the ball there because he's going to find the football.
I mean, evident with the 9 interceptions on career there. I mean, that's that's nothing to sneeze at there. That's when you're pushing up on double-digit interceptions. I told you earlier, I don't know a ton about corners, but I do know interceptions are a good thing.
And he has plenty of them. And the thing is, he's even a playmaker after the ball gets thrown. But I mean, you see him against slot guys. He had a good game against Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison got his, of course, but he had one of the better games against him. Let me see, against Julian Fleming of Ohio State too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see him kind of hemming him up, and Julian Fleming is not a small guy. Julian Fleming's like 6'2", 6'3".
Right.
Like he enjoys being physical with the physical receivers. I think that'll be his down. I think he'll get a couple more flags than usual, but because of that, but I could see him being a really good slot corner.
Yeah, like a lot. The like just reading up on some things about him. A lot of people seem to think he'd be better in a zone scheme than maybe a man scheme. I haven't watched this guy play, but I could see like especially a guy who's got like really good quickness, really good twitch,
very smart
closing,
guy,
a very smart guy, and just that really good closing speed. Like you said, the flats out there is all about how quick. It's not that you're going to cover the guy right on his hip in the flats. You're going to wait 5-6 yards down the field, and if the ball's thrown his way, how fast can you get there?
Yeah,
and if that guy's got that, so if that guy's out there, he's got that speed. That's gonna make people think twice before they throw to their little outlet there in the flat. So
exactly,
could be a really good, especially if you've got good guys on the outside and over top, and you bring this guy in as your safety valve cover guy. Then absolutely, I could see that working really well for you.
The nickel has already been like, yes, whether we all want to admit it or not, nickel's the new base. Everybody runs nickel
100%.
75% of the time, even to the point now where you have RGM standing up on the up at the podium, at the combine, like saying that nickel is a starter.
Yep.
So, if they decide to go someone like, a Tyree Wilson or a Miles Murphy in the first round. So you're saying that this guy is somebody that we could be and should be targeting, at 44 in the second round.
Yes,
Cool.
at 44. And if you are really looking for it, like I could see them going this route if they go like edge in the first round. Like if they say, you know what, we're pulling the trigger on Miles Murphy, and then letting another corner drop, or let's say another nickel guy drop, or another outside corner drop. They could go and say, you know what, we also have a need at nickel corner. Let's go ahead and get probably one of the best nickel guys that we can find right here, and get another outside guy later.
I'm going to take a quick break in a second as far as like talking about draft guys. Since I got you on and we're talking about nickel real quick, what's your thought on Mike Hughes? I hear everybody's like bemoaning a $3 million contract, which makes me like really either go, okay, guys, we're nitpicking at some point, or like, should I be worried that this guy's even on our team?
No, you shouldn't be worried. He's just not flashy. His ceiling is solid. That's what I'd say. His ceiling is solid, and so that's the reason why I'm fine with it. But at the same time, it's like I'd much rather have given that money to Isaiah Oliver.
Yeah, I wonder if the deal with Oliver, because he spent the last 4 games at safety, and you just went out and got Jessie Bates.
Right.
So I'm wondering if this new regime just didn't view Oliver as, or the new part of the regime plus the old part with, Smith and Fontenot, if they just didn't necessarily view Oliver as
that third safety.
Yeah, a third safety. As to where you have Hawkins, maybe they wanted, I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Figured I had you on here. I wanted to ask you quickly about Mike Hughes, because I know the Twitterverse was bemoaning what is essentially came down to a 1-year, $3.5 million contract, and I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, it's basically like a little prove it deal, because Mike Hughes hasn't exactly been what you expected him to be. I mean, he's a first round guy. He came out of UCF that year that they won the national championship, I think, quote unquote.
Won the national championship.
Yeah, they won the national championship.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think people were expecting more from him. I'm sure the Lions were, but I guess this is one of those. This has the potential to be one of those Terry Fontenot, look, this guy, you guys thought he was done, he's not done yet type deals. And
it's worked a handful of times already. So
exactly, and that's why
I'm not discounting it. That much is for sure. Nice.
Well, that was his specialty when he was with the Saints.
Yep.
Right. And that's the reason why, it seemed like all the guys they brought in, the pro free agent guys they brought in, even like some of the guys that were not like the highly touted guys, always seemed to, like, at the very least, be really good players.
Exactly.
That may not have been like the highlight reel guys, but you add them in with the guys like the DeMario Davises and what have you, that are the highlight reel type of guys, then that just builds the rest of your team out. And that's that to me is the Mike Hughes side. Mike Hughes, if we're expecting him to be the guy, then that's all wrong. I don't think that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't think
he's expected to be the pieces that fit in between the guy on this side and that side.
Right.
That's all
he's expected to be a guy, not the guy. So
exactly. Yeah.
All right. On to our next stop. Now, this one is super intriguing, and the only reason why I say it's because, like, sitting next to you down in Mobile, you actually got like visibly excited when you were watching Jamie Robinson play. So, like, I'm just gonna tee it up, man. Talk to me about Jamie Robinson. Like, why should I be excited, and what round do you think he falls in? Is he like a 3rd round guy, a 4th round guy? Talk to me.
So Jamie Robinson, the reason why I got so excited is because even though I'm wearing the University of Alabama thing right here, I'm sorry, this is the only thing that I had readily.
All right, look, we'll forgive you. Everybody makes a bad choice every now and then. No, I'm just
kidding. I'm pretty sure my skin is burning. I'm an FSU guy, And I mean, when I saw him down there and I saw him light up the Senior Bowl, it made my heart just melt because I loved watching him in the slot, watching him at safety. I think Jimmy Robinson may be one of the more versatile guys in this draft, in my opinion. As you can see, he makes plays. He's got 16 PBUs, his 7 INTs, and what should really get you the 180 tackles.
180 tackles.
He
like,
loves coming down and hitting. Yeah, he stays around the football.
Now you talked about that versatility, and we just got done talking about like the nickel player. That's what with Fontenot adding the whole idea of like big nickel, and that being the predominant package that they played with in New Orleans. Now, granted, it was only 15%, but their nickel, the vast, more times than not, was a big nickel. So, do you think this guy could come in and like supplant like Jalen Hawkins as far as like that third safety?
I think that would be exactly what he would do. If we pick Jamie Robinson, that means that Jalen Hawkins should be on notice at that point in time.
Right.
Like, I think that Jamie, what they kind of do is around the same because Jamie Robinson, he can play center field if you need him to, but I think he's more of a guy that you would want near the box. You would want him near again in that slot, again in that that curl flat range, maybe an overhang every now and again up the seam. He's one of those guys, and I really like the fact that the way that he breaks on the ball, even though like he didn't test very well, he's still a pretty athletic guy. I was really expecting him to test better, just a tad bit faster in the 40, but either way, that didn't deter me, but I'm also a homer, so I apologize.
Hey, look, at least you admitted.
I'm looking at this guy's stuff, and it looks like he tested 4.59, so the speed in the 40 doesn't blow you away, but reading up on him, it looks like the thinking for him is a couple things, and one thing, there's a couple of guys that I've looked at that we've looked at so far that kind of have this same trait where they're like nonstop motor, great competitor, like doesn't take plays off kind of a guy,
right?
But also real high football IQ, really studies and just knows what routes are coming. And so, sometimes when a guy doesn't have that elite speed, you can make up for that if you can analyze plays quickly, figure out where they're going, and then take the most efficient route to wherever you need to be. You can kind of get around some of your deficiencies when it comes to just flat out speed. So this guy definitely feels like he's in that boat.
And that's exactly what he is. Yeah, he's one of those guys that basically stays around the football and is like in the right spot at the right time. And with that, he made a ton of plays for FSU, and he's one of those guys also that'll pry at the football. That's what I love about him, is the fact that the play isn't over until the play is over with him.
Right.
And so he'll be sitting there trying to rip the football out before the play is over and all these types of things. He creates turnovers with his, like Jonathan said, his motor.
Right.
And so it's if we do go the route and say, you know what, Jalen Hawkins, which I don't know if we do, because you know how Terry likes his guys and how he likes to keep his guys in house and all these types of things. But
Hawkins ain't his guy though.
That's true.
Hawkins was more on the tail end of Dimitrov, so he may not have any love lost there. But either way, the versatility of Jamie Robinson was what really caught my attention on him.
Mm-hmm.
So another like somewhat versatile guy. In a sense, but I don't know. You'll tell me if he's versatile or not. But I liked what I saw down there in Mobile with Sidney Brown. We could do like a brother combo and get Chase Brown. And have a running back.
No, they're twins, right?
Are they twins? Really?
They are
And I
twins.
knew they were
Yeah.
brothers. I didn't know that they were twins. So talk to me about Sydney. What should I and what round do what should I know about him, and what round do you think he goes in?
So Sidney Brown is a walking tank, is essentially what he is. You remember seeing him. That dude is big, man.
Yeah, he wasn't no little dude.
And the thing is, he's what, 5'10", right?
Mm-hmm.
211 pounds. And I almost guarantee that none of it is fat.
No, it can't be. It can't be.
It can't be.
Like I don't know who has like more body fat, him or Chase Brown, because both those dudes had no problem walking around with their shirt rolled up and showing you that they had six packs.
Yeah, I would be. I mean,
look. If I had a physique like him, I'd be doing this show shirtless. Okay,
that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'd be doing. Hey, I'll be doing this guest spot right now while doing what is it? Pull ups, man. I'm not
like,
yeah, he's definitely got a physique. That much is for sure.
Yeah, but the guy is. I mean, he's compact, and the thing is, he's another one of them guys that. I mean, he comes downhill, and he is just a battering ram. I mean, they actually him in run support is like having another linebacker. That's how that's how good he is when coming downhill. It's ridiculous. Like he can set an edge sometimes. That's how good he is.
Now is he more of a? I see that he has 10 interceptions with 187 tackles and 17. So is he more of a box guy, or is he just all over the daggone place?
He's all over the place. He is mostly in the box, helping out in the run game. But when he's in the passing game and he's able to cover those tight ends, he's able to. Excuse me, because I think actually against Iowa, he was the one that was slotted up against Sam De La Porta the entire time.
Okay.
It was him versus him the entire time, and so he has no qualms with being like a tight end stopper. You know, that guy that'll take that tight end eraser. And as you know, we don't have one of those.
Right? No,
we don't have one of those.
Tight ends historically eat against the Falcons. So hearing that he is a tight end eraser, like perks me up in all those particular ways.
Like I would love to have if it's this guy, cool. If it's not, hey, I understand. But I would love to have what we thought we were going to get and what we kind of had early on before his injuries took place. Keanu Neal,
right?
You know,
goodness.
You know, but he was never the same after his injuries. But prior to that, that guy was a guy that you could put on some of the, maybe not every tight end out there, some of the bigger, the Gronks of the world and what have you.
Right.
Those guys could still give him issues, but like your average, most of the tight ends, you put him on him and he could cover them pretty good. And then also when it came to the run game, came downhill, looked to deliver knockout punches to running backs or to guys coming across the middle. Those kinds of situations. I would love to have that guy. And if that's this guy, hey, I am down for that.
No doubt about
that. Guy. The only problem is I don't know about outside of him being a tight end eraser guy. The rest of the stuff he does, we already have in Richie Grant, and that's what I'm terrified of is the fact that we're like, we don't need Sidney Brown. We have Sidney Brown at home.
Right, right. Okay, double dipping in that aspect.
Exactly, and so it's like, if we do get him, he's gonna be another guy that you have to get day 2. By the way, that's where Jamie Robinson's gonna be too. Day 2, more towards round 3. But yeah, that's probably where you're gonna have to find him mid day 2 as well. These guys are gonna be around the same
area.
Yeah,
late second, early third, maybe.
Exactly.
That kind of okay.
And
no, you're right.
One thing I'm noticing is about Sidney Brown. Excuse me. Sidney Brown, Jamie Robinson, and a lot of the guys that we've looked at today is one of the weaknesses that I see a lot of people talk about, and this is probably a lot of just, you're not a pro. Once you become a pro and then you start really getting into it, it maybe slots in better. But a lot of these guys are like, hey, they got really good man coverage skills. Maybe not quite, when they're sitting back in zone, maybe not quite as good. And so for us, if we're going to be more, we're going to run some zones, but if we're going to be a much more man coverage type unit, then a lot of these guys are good fits in that regard. In that,
Right.
it's literally just like, that's your guy. Go cover that guy. That's the simplest thing you can do.
Yes.
Instead of being like, okay, you're in this zone. If he comes over here,
He
then
comes
you
over.
gotta float this way.
If this guy goes
If he
underneath, you have to go that way. And then having to do all of these gymnastics, mental gymnastics to just cover one guy. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, this brings us to the last, but definitely not the least. It just last and happened to be in order of how I slotted these. But this dude, I legitimately remember you saying, like, commenting on how big this guy was when he stepped on the field, and you were like, my God, who is that giant? So he is not like anybody else that we have talked about today. This is Julius Brents out of K-State, cornerback. What did you know his measurable right off the top of your head? Because he's over. He's like, what, like 6?
He's 6'3", essentially 200 pounds.
So he does not fit the mold of what they like, at all.
He's basically he's a little bit lighter, but he's basically the defensive version of a Drake London.
Right, exactly. And so tell me why we should go against the grain and take Julius Brents, because he was pretty impressive down there at the Senior Bowl.
So you remember, JR, I'm pretty sure that I was with you when it happened. The first two players that I saw ever at the Senior Bowl was J.L. Skinner from Boise State and Julius Brents from Kansas State. And I just looked, and I was like, oh, this is what we have here.
Those two dudes were some trees walking out onto the field. And J.L. Skinner is a little stiff, but Julius Brents really turned some heads.
The way he's able to get in and out of breaks is ridiculous at his size. Like, he's able to flip his hips very well for somebody that's 6'3", 200 pounds. Like, that's I was very impressed with how easily he was able to kind of, of course it was still against somebody like Rasheed Rice or, those guys that are shifty, he's still going to have a bit of issues because, they're 5 inches lower, 5 inches lower to the ground. Like, they don't have as much to move.
No,
but he still impressed and was able to kind of, hold his own there, even with the smaller guys that were there. And with the bigger guys, he just sat there and just was physical with them the entire time. And that's what I liked about him.
Right.
Was the fact that watching his tape at Kansas State, which honestly isn't very good. But it's not very bad either. It's I'm being modest. It's bad, but I'm being modest. It's concerning. But the good thing that you see the flashes with him, he is able to come down number one as another safety almost from the cornerback position, but in coverage he gets a little handsy at times, but he's able to run with anybody, and quite frankly, he's just stupid athletic. I mean, he killed the combine.
Like this guy comes off to me. We've talked about it a little bit, with some previous guys. This guy, to me, if you don't, let's say you don't want to mess with, the two previous safeties we talked about. The names are escaping me. I think this guy is a guy that comes in and he could be your essentially like your tight end nullifier.
Interesting.
He's got the size, he's got the speed, his fluidity. While he is very fluid with his body control, he does have some sloppy footwork in his back pedal a little bit. It seems.
A little bit.
And so like the transitioning and stuff like that can cost him with some smaller or just average size wide receivers. Tight ends probably not going to have you breaking your ankles or things like that.
Is this guy another Isaiah Oliver?
He's too big. He's too big. He's 6'3". The fact that he's 6'3" is the reason why I can't imagine him anywhere else but outside. Because
yeah, but I mean, Isaiah Oliver was 6'1", 6'2", right?
He's 6. Yeah, but at the same time, it's
Am I wrong on that? I could be wrong on that. I might be misremembering. I know that Oliver was supposed to be an outside guy, and was burnt toast on the outside. Yeah, so my question is
burnt toast. 6 foot, 6 foot even.
Oh, okay, then I'm way off on that. Maybe it's just what you were describing there, like little stiff in his back pedal and stuff. I was like, it just was giving me like Oliver flashbacks.
And the thing is, he wasn't necessarily stiff. It's just that the way the guys are able to move, like at 5'10", he's just not able to move at 6'3". Like it's almost like he's still impressive for his size. It's just, but I'm going too far off. Basically what I like from him is the fact that, number one, he's extremely athletic, and I feel like the things that he's bad at, you can coach.
And that's what I was going to ask. Is it teachable as far as like technique that you can refine versus like ultra bad habits? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it more of a correctable errors?
So he's, number one, he's extremely aggressive, both in his press and in zone. That in itself can kind of get him beat because he's looking. As soon as he's on the hip, he's like, all right, I'm looking in the backfield. Where's the ball?
Mm-hmm.
That can be coached. When he's kind of getting back into phase, he'll sometimes get grabby.
Right.
That can be coached. Honestly, he was probably one of the fastest guys in the cornerback group. Just tell him to trust his speed.
Right.
Like there's the things that he has, the mindset he has is, I need to make a play. If you can coach him to just say, just be in your spot, just do your job.
Mm-hmm.
Do your job. You have to make a play. You have to keep making the play every time.
Right.
I think he'll be good. And also with him, I see so much, and this is going to sound so bad coming off of here because this is a big take. I see so much Tariq Woolen in him that it's ridiculous. I see so much Tariq Woolen in him. Like, and you saw how Tariq Woolen was a wide receiver that turned cornerback, and you saw how raw he was. Brents is just as like raw technically.
Right.
And I just don't see teams making the mistake of letting this guy fall to the 5th again.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Like because of Woolen, he's not gonna make it probably out of the 3rd.
He's not making it out of the 3rd. No.
I got you.
Okay. Well, so if we get him in the 3rd, then I do like him for that, and he could be a guy that let's assume that we don't pick up a guy in the 1st. Cornerback wise,
right?
I can see, and then we keep Casey Hayward. Hayward is your outside guy.
For another year,
wide receivers, and then this guy comes in when they go like maybe, hey, we're gonna run 2 wides with 2 tight ends or whatever, and this guy is manned up or what have you. He's the guy that's covering whoever the tight end threat is.
Like, let's say it's the Saints. Let's say that's what's his name, Juwan Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Like a tight end that's susceptible to slot out wide or something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
And I can see that guy being the thing. So.
One other guy I want to ask you about. I don't have a little card for him because wasn't on your list, but there's a guy I got to ask you about. It's it was the fastest corner. He's a track star out of Iowa. The fastest guy
Iowa.
in Iowa. Riley Moss. Like, briefly, we ain't got to spend a lot of time on him as we're starting to wind this down. That was more for a joke because I can't make the Iowa joke with anybody else. I've tried to make it a few times on Twitter. Nobody's biting on it. He was the fastest guy in Iowa.
He is a track star. The guy is a track star.
That's right.
In Iowa.
In Iowa. But why isn't there more buzz about Riley Moss? It seems like again, I don't know a ton about corners, but it seems like he has everything you want, especially being the fastest guy out of Iowa. What's your thoughts and like quick opinions, 30,000-foot view on Riley Moss?
So Riley Moss, I've looked at a little bit on him ever since the Senior Bowl, and I don't know. He's got the speed. He's got the he seems to always be in the right position, and then when the ball comes, it's like I don't know. He just doesn't attack it like he's supposed to. I don't understand what happens. I don't understand how. And honestly, he showed it at the combine. He is one of the fastest corners here.
Like legitimately, he is one of the fastest corners here. It's just whatever happens between him being on the hip and the ball coming to him being on the hip and looking at the receiver and the ball coming in the air and hitting the receiver's hands. I don't understand what happens in between there where he just it doesn't compute, but the ball just continuously falls in the receiver's hands when he's covering somebody. Well, that's definitely not good.
And so as much as I would love to like him, I feel like if he's able to use that speed elsewhere, and me and Juke on Twitter, we joke with Dempsey because Dempsey loves him some Riley Moss. Dempsey loves Riley Moss. If we could just use that speed and have him watch the quarterback the entire time as a safety, I bet you he would make so many more plays.
I wonder if try him at nickel. I don't know.
He needs to talk to Mr. Jason Sehorn and be like, what do I have to do to be a white guy and a cornerback in the NFL? You're the only guy that knows how it works.
I don't know what happens. Like I watched it at the Senior Bowl and I'm like, okay, he's there. He's on his hip. He's on his hip pocket, or he's made up the ground. He's right there, and every single time, bloop. What? How?
It sounds like he's the opposite of Alfred. Alfred would be like perfect positioning. Everything goes right. He's played this play exactly the way it's supposed to be. And then the ball's like somewhere between the ball almost being there and getting to the receiver, his brain just goes like, "Oh, you are so screwed. Just wiggle your arms around," and he gets a flag every single time. This guy's like, "Oh, I don't want to make a mistake and I don't want to get a flag, so I'm just going to do nothing." And this guy seems like the exact opposite.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
It's a case of doing too much and not doing enough.
Exactly.
Well, Mr. Saivion, you have shed some light on some really good names here. Hopefully some of the folks will take time to, if you didn't know any of these guys, go check them out. What you got, John?
Parting question here. We're at 8, and we have Christian Gonzalez and Witherspoon available. Okay, and we plan on going cornerback.
Ooh.
Who do you want the Falcons to pick up at that point?
Oh.
Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Because that's what we're going to be. Come on, you should have known that was coming. If he didn't do it, I was
really Yeah, I thought I dodged this one.
No.
I'm
John didn't. I was definitely going to.
I was such a huge Witherspoon guy, I swear. But if Christian Gonzalez is there, you have to take Christian Gonzalez. And I feel like he's such a prototypical guy. It makes it makes too much sense.
Right. Too
Now,
solid of a prospect.
now my thing, yeah, that is true. My thinking here is it all depends. Is Gonzalez going to be the guy who, like, he is what he's good at, right? He's the prototypical guy. He's going to come into the pros and he's going to actually live up to his prototypical traits, right? Or
Mhm.
is he a guy that, to this point in his career, through probably JV, high school, college, has been one of, if not the most athletically gifted player on the field, and has not had to work as hard as some others to have success. You know, we saw that, we used to see this all the time with, and I'm not going to say this. I'm going to pull in like a Mike Vick. Mike Vick is a guy who, throughout his career till he got to the pros, really didn't have to study hard, didn't have to do the work that some other
Right.
guys did, because he was so outrageously athletically gifted. So when he gets to the pros, he's not paying attention to his playbook. He's not really studying to be the best quarterback he could possibly be while he was with the Falcons. Changed later, right, when he was with the Eagles, but when he was with the Falcons, didn't have that. And he was able to get by on it. Is a Christian Gonzalez, because he's so freakishly athletic, is he that guy that's just not had to do anything? And if that's the case, then
Maybe a Witherspoon is.
Maybe Witherspoon is the other guy that has had to work at it, that has had to put in the time to become this guy that he is today. I don't know. I'm not saying Gonzalez is or isn't, but
Right.
that's always a thought in my head when you get those crazy athletic guys. They just haven't had to work at anything. They show up and they're so much better than everybody else until they get to the pros, when everybody is as good as you.
Right. And just
then
to
it comes
preface,
down to,
yeah. And just to
go
preface
ahead.
this is not Jonathan saying that Christian Gonzalez is not a hard worker.
Oh, no.
Like, I want to make sure that's known, because people like to spin people's words, and I don't want that to happen to you.
Nope.
But yeah, I fully understand what you're saying, because there's a certain, I don't know, there when you're just better, like once you get off the bus, it's kind of tough sometimes to kind of put on your hard hat and say, oh, I guess I got to get to work today, because I'm already better.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like,
well, that's what the that's what the scouts and stuff have to do and have to figure out. I think that it'd be a tough call. Like, if you have Witherspoon who fits the mold that you're looking for, physicality wise, height, weight wise, checks the boxes that you like. It'd be hard to pass up on just for somebody who is that athletic freak. Smooth and everything else. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what transpires on draft day. But Mr. Saivion, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to come in here and talk to us. Where can the good folks of the internets find you, sir?
If you ever need to find me, I am here at Twitter. Let me see. Which way is this? Right here? Okay.
Yep,
there you go. Right there. Oh, yep.
At Mixson, MIXSONS _NFL. You can find me writing for both Around the Block, the Around the Block Network, and for Blogging Dirty. I think I'm also at Mixson NFL or all of that, TikTok too.
No, there you
remember.
Go. But yeah, you can find them anywhere that you want to find people, as far as Twitter, as far as like active journalism, which is something that we don't do, because nope, not good at writing, barely good at talking.
Pretty good at talking.
Yeah. But either way, we very, very much appreciate you taking time out of your day. And as always, Falcons fans, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan?
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come and say hi.
That's right. And as keep your eye on the channel. We'll be back live every Tuesday with a live stream and with more shows like this, breaking down names that you may not have heard of. So just keep your eye on the channel. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.